Yeah, we call ourselves the Holy Circus. We got the youngest group, we call ourselves the Jugglers. And then we got the Lion Tamers. And then the oldest group is the Magicians.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another edition of RUC People. And today I'm delighted to be joined by my friend Prince Rampai Makoko, who is known to most of us and has been part of the RUC community for a few years now. Very active with Holy Circus and, performing at Carnival and various other things. So great to see you again, Prince. Prince is joining us actually from Bloemfontein. So we're doing this on Zoom, as you can see. And yeah, it's a real pleasure. I was actually in Bloom a few weeks ago and caught up with Prince in person. So great to see you again, mate. And thanks for joining us.
It's good to see you, Russell, and hi to everybody in REC land. It's nice to once again see everybody. Well, not see, but speak to everybody.
So, Prince, tell us what took you back to Bloom and how's it going there and what are you doing?
Yes, I went back to Bloom at the beginning of the year in February. That was because, unfortunately, Cape Town is a very expensive city to live in. I was the only one. I was by myself in Cape Town. I had no family, nobody, and because of COVID and salaries being super low and not a lot of jobs being available, I decided just to take a hiatus and come back home to Bloom and just to lay down for 1 year just so I can get back on my feet. And at the moment, I'm in Bloom. I'm studying. I'm doing a culinary course to be a chef. And I'm also interning part-time as a chef as well. That's
Cool.
What I'm doing at the moment.
And how's that going?
It's absolutely fantastic. I'm enjoying it. I've been lucky enough to be able to have so many opportunities to try many different things. I think this is the most fun I've ever had with anything that I've done in my life. I've done so many things. I was lucky enough to go study theology, my first degree, then went to go study film. Then went to go study to become a beauty therapist. Now I'm studying to become a chef, which is absolutely fun. Cooking, you can't go wrong with food. It's always a pleasure.
Well, you've already touched on a few things that we might delve a bit deeper with, all these different possible career directions. You also talked about Bloom being home. So just take us back, Prince. Tell us a little bit about your childhood and where you grew up.
Childhood, I grew up around South Africa, honestly speaking. I grew up around both Lesotho and South Africa. Half of my family is from Lesotho and some of them moved to South Africa. So I grew up in Rustenburg. I grew up in Kroonstad. I grew up in Masiri, Lesotho. Then I moved to Cape Town. From as far as I can remember, as from being a child, probably as much as I can recollect, 5 years old, 6 years old, I first lived in Rustenburg with relatives. Then I moved to Kroonstad for a while. Then I moved back to Lesotho where my biological father was. But then I left Lesotho when I was probably about 16, 15 for Cape Town because of just family issues and, Lesotho not being such a, at the time, not such a good place for a young child to grow up in.
Yeah.
Yes, childhood wasn't so fun. It was a bit difficult. So because of that, I moved to Cape Town with a few family friends. And by the time I was 18, I started living by myself up until this year.
Okay. And how were your school years? I mean, were you a keen student at school? Were school years happy? But it sounds like you moved around a bit, so maybe it's a bit disrupted, but reflect on your school experience a bit.
Just in general, up until I moved to Cape Town, schooling and just childhood was I'm just going to find a nice word to use. It wasn't so much fun. It was just plainly, it was terrible. But I think the good thing about life is that some things in life you get used to. So as a child, I just got used to just moving around, Unfortunately, the people that I lived with weren't so. I was a bit neglected as a child, so Schooling wasn't so fun. I didn't have much friends because I've been Rustenburg this year, and a couple of years I moved to Kronstad. Then I moved to Soto. So I couldn't get used to a specific environment, just moving around all the time. So
Yeah.
schooling wasn't yeah it wasn't so great because I moved from an English school to an Afrikaans school, then to an English school again, then to an Afrikaans school again.
Right. Okay. And during school, did you have a sense of what you wanted to do with your life? I mean, you've talked about various courses you've done. Was there a point where you sort of started to feel you had some direction as to where you were heading?
Yes, I think I had a sense of direction of what I wanted to do with life when I was in uh, junior high school. I wanted to be an entertainer. I wanted to be an actor, a performer, because I was very comical when I was growing up. I was very I spoke a lot. I was an over exaggeration of a human being. So I just wanted to be a performer, and I used to love dancing a lot. I wanted to be a dancer. I was a big fan of Michael Jackson. I remember as a kid, I used to perm my hair like Michael Jackson, and I used to dress like him. I used to walk like him. I used to just dance like him. And I was also a big fan of Prince. Purple Rain Prince.
Yeah.
I'd also used to like perm my hair like him. Put a bit of lipstick just to So I just wanted to be a performer. But my father had a different plan for me. He wanted me to be an engineer because he had a big business in Lesotho. So it was always a clash, and I was always like a problem child because I wasn't what my father wanted me to be.
Right. Okay. But you managed to matriculate. Where did you do your matric?
I matriculated in Stellenberg High School in Cape Town in Durbanville in 2010. Yes.
Okay.
2010.
And what did you do when you left school?
After I left school, I took a gap year. I went to go to dance school. I just wanted to pursue my dance career, and that didn't work out. I just found out that it just felt like dancing was not for me. It just got too boring because I did all sorts of dances. But just before I matriculated, I remember I got involved at the time when I was 18. It was a very vulnerable. I was in a very vulnerable place in my life where I didn't have family. I just felt very lonely. And I remember I stumbled across a group of Christians that shared the Bible and quote unquote the gospel to me at the time. And I really, really, really got into faith and religion at the time. So after I finished matric and went to dance school, I realized that no, dance school is not for me. Maybe I got a calling to be a preacher. Now I wanted to be a priest, a pastor, so to speak, because of the influence of the people that I came across. So after that year, I just jumped straight into to study theology.
Okay. And Prince, had church been part of your background, growing up, or was that sort of something that you encountered, a bit later in life?
Growing up, church or religion or God was not something that was a part of my life. It was just there, but it's not something that I really thought about. I thought about it more when I was just in a place where I felt as if I needed a family. And at the time when I was 18, I just found a group of people that loved God and that just loved me and just wanted me to be part of the family.
Fantastic. Yeah. And so where did you study theology?
I studied at Cornerstone Institute, just right where Robert was lecturing.
Right. And is that how you came into contact with RUC? Through Robert?
100%. Yes,
Fantastic.
Yes, 100%. He was my lecturer, one of my lecturers.
Great. And so did you complete your theological studies?
Yes, by the grace of the good Lord, I did. It was very challenging because I went in there as a very conservative Christian, very, very, very conservative. No musical instruments allowed in the church. Don't chew a gum while the pastor is ministering. Just very conservative. When I walked in there at university, most just so liberal, and my lecturers were saying at the time, saying things that were so bizarre to me. As somebody who was conservative, I thought they were all from the devil. And I remember when I also first saw Rob, I thought he was a strange man because he was wearing an earring, and that to me, as a conservative, that's crazy. And he told me that he was a pastor, and I was like, "You a pastor?" And I remember he also told us in the class that he married a gay couple. So at the time, for me, that was bizarre. I thought, what kind of a preacher would marry a gay couple? Because it went against my theology at the time. So I went through a phase where I also got very confused, and I almost gave up on the church. But at that time, that's when I started speaking more to Rob, and he invited me to RUC, and that's when I started to actually feel like, you know what, I don't have to be forced to believe. Like RUC gave me a feeling where environment where I could be myself, where I was not force fed a doctrine, where I saw people, just normal people, not just super religious people. Where I remember in my old church, I was supposed to dress in a certain way. If I came, I was not allowed to wear a cap during service. That was a sin. That was very bad. So it was just, I just came to a place, environment where faith was reasonable, and God was reasonable. God was not some upset person in heaven waiting to point out what you're doing wrong.
Cool. Well, I think over the years you've worn some very interesting outfits to church, Prince. Maybe we can have a photo of some of those as part of this interview.
Oh,
so
definitely.
You've certainly moved on from those days.
100%.
And we've also seen some of your talents as a performer and as a dancer at different points. So it feels like that's very much part of your persona. So I'd be interested to hear whether that is still alive within you, wanting to perform, but alongside the other things you've done. So you mentioned studying theology, maybe wanting to be a preacher, and then I think you also talked about studying beauty therapy. So maybe tell us a bit about that.
So after I studied theology, after I graduated, I realized that there was no way I was going to make a living out of preaching. I don't want to be those televangelists on like late night shows. Give me your money and God will give you 100 folds. I don't want that. So I decided to go study film. That was before beauty therapy came along. That's where I wanted to just to bring out the performer in me. I went to AFTA. I first did a 1-year course, higher certificate, which went really well. Then I did the degree course, and I didn't enjoy it so much. To be honest, it was probably one of the worst, times of my life in terms of I just felt as if my creativity was just taken away from me. So after film, during film, actually, that's when I started studying to become a beauty therapist. Because I realized that I enjoyed I always used to take care of myself, my skin, trying to eat healthy. So I thought maybe this is an industry that I'd like to go into. So I was going to leave film to become a beauty therapist.
Okay, and with studying film, was that with a view to being in front of the camera or behind the camera? What kind of things do you study at film school? Is it about acting and performing, or is it about the whole business of making movies and production, etc.?
With film school, you can choose. You can either choose to major behind the camera or in front of the camera. So I decided to go behind the camera because I just felt as if acting was easy, which that was just me being too cocky. So I wanted to become a director, a cinematographer, and an editor. And that's what I majored in. And I did a few acting. I was also in one of Aristide's film. I was the lead role in Aristide's film, which was very good, by the way. If you haven't seen, go check it out. So I just majored in behind the scenes.
Cool. Okay. And then beauty therapy. I think I remember you saying once another member of your family had an interest in beauty therapy. So was that also a factor?
Yes. Yes, that was also a factor. Well, we have a beauty business at home. So the idea was for me to take over and that's also one of the major reasons why I came back. I thought, okay, I can't make money in Cape Town. There's a business back home, and let me go see if I can make money there. but I realized it was very difficult. The beauty business is very difficult because in my classes, I was the only male. It was 99.99% females, and the beauty business is 99%. It's 100% females. I'm always the only male, so it's very difficult because it's a literal hands-on industry. It's literally hands-on. So I'm massaging. You know, it's very difficult because I remember. I'll tell you a quick story. I remember once, in one of my classes, because we used to get clients outside of school so that they can come in so we can work on them for marks. So I was given a client. I remember correctly, she was a Muslim lady, and I was there getting ready, just preparing my station. Then she was told that I was going to be a therapist. Then she looked at me and she looked at the lecturer. Then she walked out. So that's when I knew that this is going to be difficult because having a male man, just massaging you, and you have to you have to take your clothes off. It's very challenging. It's very difficult.
Well, I mean, there are male masseurs out there, so I guess some manage to achieve it, but it sounds like it's not easy. Yeah.
No, it's definitely not. It's also a bit awkward because a lot of my peers in the classes, they would say that no, the husbands don't like being worked on by a male. So sometimes we'd have to find somebody close to work on, and it'd be a struggle because some of them were married, and it's like, no, my husband won't allow this, and yeah, it was challenging, but there were some very some other females who were like, no, it's okay. They didn't find it wasn't a problem at all. But I think the best part about being in a beauty school was that I had all the treatments. I had my manicures and pedicures. I got massages because I was the only male. They also worked on me a lot just to learn how to work on males. So I had all the treatments free of charge almost every day.
Sounds like heaven, Prince.
It was amazing. I remember one time I came back from school with full blown makeup because some students also majored in makeup. So I looked like a drag queen. I walked in front of the gate, and the security guard looked at us like, "Oh, we knew you were gonna come out the closet one day." And everybody was like, are you coming out the closet? I was like, no, I just come from school.
Well, wonderful. Well, I know the other big part of your, caring for your body is, going to the gym with weights.
Yes.
You take that pretty seriously. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Yes. One thing about me is that I take health very seriously. I do not compromise on my health at all. Like I'm straight edge. Meaning that I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. That means I don't take caffeine. For me, caffeine is also a drug. So I don't like to quote unquote put anything poisonous in my body, and that also includes working out and just staying in shape at all times. So I've generally been like that my whole life. So yes, and I go to the gym and I enjoy weightlifting. I lift extremely heavy weights. Hopefully Aristide will show a few clips. I enjoy, I grew up very skinny when I was small. I grew up very skinny. So when you're a skinny child, you get bullied a lot, so that I took that in my adulthood, and I was like, you know what? I no longer want to be pushed around. So I started lifting very heavy weights, and now I'm a big muscly guy. And ever since I've become big, nobody's ever pushed me around and say anything.
No one's gonna mess with you now.
Nobody. Like sometimes I'd walk in the mall and I see just people just move on the side. People move, like, wow, this feels good.
Okay, all right. So Prince, I gather there's a very exciting new development in your life and a new opportunity that's coming up. So would you like to tell us more about that?
Yes, yes, definitely. So as right now I'm busy studying, doing a course in culinary and working part-time as a chef, trainee chef. I had the opportunity I received an opportunity to go become a combi chef, which is a trainee chef in San Francisco, US. In December, I'm going to start in December. It's a 1-year contract. So yes, that's something very, very exciting that just recently came about.
Wow.
So I'm going to, so hopefully If because COVID is very unpredictable. Perhaps my biggest fear is that a new COVID variant is going to come, Delta version 5.0, and it's just going to shut everything down. So if that doesn't happen, I should soon be leaving.
Okay, off to San Francisco, maybe for a year with a contract. But I mean, does this sort of signal that this culinary, chef route is where you finally found that direction, or do you still harbor some ambitions to pursue the film acting route? Obviously, being in California, you're not far from Hollywood and lots of opportunities in that front. I mean, where's your head at with that? Is food a stepping stone to get to the US? What's your dreams and hopes?
To be honest with you, I always like to consider myself the ultimate opportunist. So it's for me, it's whatever opportunity arises, I take it. It's not necessarily, oh, I'm gonna go to California and I'm gonna start pursuing this. If an opportunity comes, I'll take it. But for now, the opportunity is to become a chef. So my focus is just trying to be the best chef in the world. But if for whatever happens, that I get like another opportunity to star in a Hollywood blockbuster, I'll do that. If I get an opportunity to become the next greatest weightlifter, I'll take that. If I get an opportunity to become the next greatest theologian, I'll take that. So it's just whatever comes my way, I grab it with both arms and I run at it, and I run with it.
Cool. Well, we miss you at RUC. Will we get a chance to see you again before you head off to the US?
Yes, definitely. My goal is to pop in and come back. I'm looking at November or December before I go, just to pop in and say goodbye to everybody. And yes, RUC is very dear to my heart. It's a place where I got to find myself in a community of faith for the first time in my life after searching so many years. So it is home. I honestly still miss REC till this day. And I'm just meeting up with you last week, or I forgot whenever it was, during these past couple of weeks. It just reminded me of home. I consider Cape Town and Rondebosch very much home, and I still want to be involved in REC moving forward in any capacity.
Fantastic. And so, Prince, are you breaking any hearts moving to the US? You're a young man who looks after himself. Are there significant others in the mix for you?
It's more like significant others that are breaking my heart. Yes. But I'm not a heartbreaker. I get my heart broken. I rather get my heart broken instead of breaking other people's hearts, because I think I can handle that. I'm a strong man. Yes. I had a couple of this. Yeah, no, there are very, very beautiful young women in the hospitality industry who are very hospitable, and I've met some very lovely ladies, and unfortunately, because I'm leaving, one very beautiful, lovely young lady decided that it wouldn't work out, which it makes sense. So she broke my heart. I didn't break hers, which is fine. But hopefully, when I do get to San Francisco, I'll have a lot of hospitable, options, and we'll see how the future looks like.
Cool. And Prince, you've talked a little bit about your faith journey from, those days early in Cape Town where you got involved with a very conservative church, and then coming to RUC, trained in theology, thought about being a preacher. Can you tell us a little bit more about, where your faith journey's at, now? How's that all played out, with the many things going on in your life?
I would like to think that God is a huge part of my life. In the beginning, when it all started, God was just a book and a rule book and a to-do list, and just to check if I'm doing the right thing, if I'm being a good person. But it later evolved into being more like trying to be God-like, and just being more, just getting out of just living a controlled life of, don't do this, don't do that, just being more human. I still very much in love with theology. Just randomly now and then I'll just text Robert and have a theological discussion with him, or I'll ask if I can call him and just speak about these certain topics. It's still in my blood. I still study the text, and I always try to find something. So I no longer want to be a preacher, because I'm too scared that I might say the wrong things to people, and I might ruin people's lives, because a lot of false information was fed into me growing up, which was not good for me at the time. It made me too judgmental. It made me angry, and that's not what I would like to do. So maybe one day when I'm retired, when I'm 60, I'll probably be a priest when I think I'm ready. But every day I feel as if I'm learning more and more and more about God and about his people, and how to be a God-like human being to people.
Great. Well, Prince, I wish you all the best with your upcoming adventure. Hope the US is all that you hope it might be. And I know there's people at RUC who have networks in San Francisco, and can try and link you, so you don't just arrive stone cold with no friendly faces around. So I hope it all goes well, and please stay in touch with us. And we look forward to seeing you in the next few weeks before you leave. And
Yes.
Thanks again for joining us today on RUC People. It's been really great. And all the best.
If I may just say just one last thing, Russell, I just want to sincerely, from the bottom, top, left, right of my heart, I want to thank RUC, all the members, for being so amazing. I've really, really enjoyed my time in RUC, and I can't express my gratitude enough for everything that church and the community has done for me, for making me feel at home, and for all the opportunities they've given me, for allowing me to be me without any judgment. And I do know that I could be too much. I know that. And I know, especially when I'm with Six, I know what too much, but I really appreciate the acceptance and the love. And I'm honestly going to miss it, as I miss it every single day as we speak. Thank you.
Well, and thank you. I know you played an important role in lots of young people's lives too, as part of the Holy Circus. So we miss you there as well. So thanks, Prince.
Thank you. Thank you, Russell.
Ciao.
Thank you.